this video we'll look at outlining the key features of liberal feminism as one of the three main strands of feminism, the other two being socialist feminism and radical feminism. Liberal feminism draws on some of the key principles of liberalism as an ideology itself. In particular, the belief that all individuals are rational, able to make their own decisions. All individuals are of equal moral worth. All individuals are entitled to be treated equally. And also that liberalism is a reformist strategy rather than a revolutionist strategy. And we'll see how these aspects of liberalism fits in with liberal feminism. Key texts in the first wave of feminism, and liberal feminism in particular, are The Vindication of the Rights of Women by Mary Wollstonecraft and On the Subjugation of Women by J.S. Mill and Harriet Taylor. The key goal of this first wave of liberal feminism was political and legal emancipation or equality. The central focus was achieving the right to vote, or formally extending the franchise to women. And organisations such as the National Women's Suffrage Association in the USA and the Women's Social and Political Union, more commonly called the Suffragettes in the UK, were prominent in this campaign. And the women's right to vote was achieved first in New Zealand in 1893, in the USA in 1920, and full rights in the UK in 1928. Despite achieving the right to vote, women continued to play a subordinate role to men, and eventually this led to a second wave of feminism emerging during the 1960s. A key text for liberal feminists in this second wave was Betty Friedan's The Feminine Mystique. Friedan argued that political rights, the right to vote, had not led to greater equality for women. Instead, women were still largely confined to a domestic role, reinforced by what she called the cultural myth that women seek security and fulfillment in domestic life and feminine behaviour, and this myth discouraged women from entering public life. Friedan described the despair and frustration that many women felt confined to this role as the problem with no name. Second wave liberal feminism sought to extend and achieve new rights for women, including the 1969 Abortion Act, the Equal Pay Act of 1970, and the Sex Discrimination Act of 1976, the liberalisation of divorce laws, taxation laws, and the wider availability of contraception. It was believed that reforms such as these would make it easier for women to break free from their domestic role and compete on more equal terms for opportunities in the public sphere if they wished to do so. Liberal feminism is described as reformist rather than revolutionary, in that it seeks to reform the existing system rather than overthrow it. In terms of the four core themes of feminism, liberal feminism very much focuses on the public sphere rather than the private sphere. Liberal feminists aim to reduce any restrictions on women's access to the public sphere, whether it's education, political life, business, or the professions. Liberal feminists are wary of politicizing the private sphere, which they see as an area of personal choice and individual freedom. In terms of patriarchy, liberal feminists, to the extent that they use the term, use it to draw attention to the unequal distribution of rights and entitlements in society at large, such as the underrepresentation of women very much in the public sphere again. Similar to other egalitarian strands of feminism, some radical and socialist, although not as strong, liberal feminists also subscribe to the idea of androgyny, that men and women both possess male and female characteristics, and as such, while biological differences are facts of life, separate and different gender roles ascribed to men and women are false. Men and women, in line with traditional liberal ideology, should be judged as persons, as a universal personhood, rather than as males or females. For liberal feminists, in public life, all people are considered as individuals, entitled to equal rights and access. Gender is irrelevant. And obviously liberal feminism is egalitarian, drawing on the traditional liberal belief that all individuals are of equal moral worth. But again, liberal feminists champion legal and political equality with men, supporting an equal rights agenda. For liberal feminists, equality means equal access to the public realm. Differences between men and women outside the public realm are private and personal. Liberal feminism has been subject to a number of criticisms. For third wave feminists and other feminists as well, the argument is liberal feminism focuses only on and appeals to or benefits white, educated, middle-class women who are able to take advantage of these new legal and political changes. For radical feminists, it maintains the idea of a public-private divide. Liberal feminism does not adequately address the key role of patriarchy within the private sphere and its role in female subordination. For socialist feminists, liberal feminism simply ignores the role of capitalism in female subordination and the role of class in female disadvantage.